Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the home of champions karting game for day 2, round 3 of BNL Karting Series 2025. Temperatures are a lot hotter than they were yesterday. At the earlier point, we've just had time qualifying, and it is proving to be a tough challenge. Yesterday, the drivers were put through the ringer. We had some incidents. We did have a little bit of a long stoppage in the final qualifying heat for juniors, but the drivers are here ready to do it all again here on day number 2. And if you haven't remembered where we are, let's give you a little bit of a reminder. Well, the home of champions karting game, but it has been in operation since 1984, now into its 5th decade of operation, and was heavily revised in the mid-2000s to the facility we have here now in this modern era of high octane, full adrenaline, full throttle, modern day karting. More to the point, the layout itself, fast, flowing, technical, it's a challenge. And especially when the heat of summer hits the Limburg region in eastern Belgium, well, everyone knows about it. The track temperature is incredibly hot. The grip is going to be at a premium at this circuit. It's a clockwise circuit, measures 1.36 kilometers in total, and has 13 respective corners. So we are very much under starters orders for our first race of day 2, and it is going to be our first qualifying heat for junior Rotax. That will be qualifying Heat 1, Groups B versus C. Air temperature currently at the moment 27 degrees Celsius and is set once again to hit a high of around 30 plus later on today. We're going to be racing until probably round about 1:45, 10 to 5 local time, Central European summertime here in Genk. So probably at around about midday we'll be hitting about 30 degrees Celsius. So we have now 60 seconds to go until the drivers are released for the first time here on Sunday. Once again, the anticipation is building here for race day number 2. Of course, after this, there'll be about a 3-month wait until the 4th and final round of the championship season, set to take place in the last weekend of September, where our road to Bahrain in the grand finals for 2025 will conclude. The green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid and the field being released. Now, multiple drivers did have post-qualifying session penalties, which included fastest lap times being deleted and also some drivers not making it out before the first 60 seconds of the 5-minute qualifying session. So here is your starting order for qualifying Heat 1, Groups B versus C. On the front row, Max Sidursky will start on pole position with Georgia's Matakobahidze lining up alongside on the front row. Frederick Flood, Engebretsen and Isaac Barker round at row 2 ahead of AJ Bergeroff and Kai Clark. Albert Friend, Harry Taylor, Noah Borum and Mitash Jain round out the next few rows ahead of Harry Freeman and Alex Goodson. Van der Weken and Lewin Seidel will start just above the mid-pack ahead of Lieke van Berkel. Guus Mulder, Storm van Rossum, Samir Paul, Louis Radcliffe, Justin Fonk, Luca Dumitru from Romania, Koen Willems, Devram Yater, Ethan Griffiths, Kazuki Kitanaka, Mohamed El Bouzaki, Boris Maximov, Vilmos Willisits, Rory Armstrong and Kian Bernard. So 30 drivers set to take to battle for 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Air temperature 27 degrees Celsius, set to hit a high of around 30 degrees. There is a bit more cloud cover overhead. There is a breeze in the air. But some of the major factors today, drivers will need to keep themselves hydrated at all times when they're outside of the cockpit. Keep under cover, so eliminate the possibility of either heat stroke or heat exhaustion, and also maintain that mechanical sympathy mindset. But still, push, push, push. You tell a racing driver to keep a calm head, sometimes they may not listen to you. However, it is going to be the case of how the drivers react to the conditions and act appropriately. And it is going to be a case of the sense of urgency rather than a sense of desperation. The desperation as in saying, well, I've got to make the move. No matter what happens, I've got to make the move. The sense of urgency is saying, can I make this move or shall I leave it for a couple of corners? So the drivers now heading towards the final couple of corners here at Karting Genk. Through into turn 12, into 12, 13 they go. The revs will rise for the first time and we will be green flag racing right now. Here we go. And it's a good start from the front row as everyone filters their way into turn 1. 3, 4 abreast. Runoff area being used for the first time. We've had two come together, the 207 and 223, Justin Fonk and Koen Willems. In time at the moment, there is the 212. of Frederick Flood Engelbrechts, just ahead of Kai Clark, who won the final yesterday. But Max Swiderski at the moment is going to be leading. Kai Clark dives up the inside of Frederick Flood Engelbrechts, going through into turn 8, now into turn 9. Kai Clark round the outside. Kept it going. That was a great job from him. I think Albert Friend is also in the mix there. I recognise that Dennis the Menace style race helmet livery. One of the most dominant drivers in Minimax last year in the Rotax racing family. As Swiderski leads the way. Clark in second. Third, it's Albert Friend. Noah Barham up 5 places now into P4. Isaac Barker down to 5th. Lieke van Berkel. Matic Obahidze has tumbled 12 places and is running 14th at the moment, so a slight problem for the Georgian in the early foray. As we're coming up to a minute and a half completed of the 7-minute heat, plus an additional lap. The temperatures are stifling, but the adrenaline is keeping these drivers absolutely focused with laser sight precision. But Anne van der Weyken fastest out of the drivers at the moment. Rory Armstrong's moved up 7 places, now up to 22nd. Boris Maximov from Buvan Power, now behind Kazuki Kitanaka from Japan. And they are 20th and 19th respectively. Max Swiderski leading the way by 0.6 of a second after lap number 2, ahead of Kai Clark. Albert Friend is the cork in the bottle with Noah Barham. Isaac Barker, Lieke van Berkel doing a sterling job. She's moved up 9 places from 15th on the grid, runs 6th. Then have Mitash Jain from the Emirates, and with Frederick Flood Engelbrechts from Norway, and the UK's Alex Goodson and Harry Taylor rounding out the top 10 at the minute. So Frederick Flood Engelbrechts currently has just been given the warning, black and white warning flag from race control. So Kai Clark now is ahead of Max Swiderski. He caught and passed him out on track, and that is quite a significant show of pace from the driver from KR Sport, who could be looking at a maximum score of 110 points this weekend and really bring him up the order in terms of the championship standings. Oh, someone's got a very noisy exhaust, I hear. Exit stage right from the commentary position, so someone is going to park that. That could possibly be Harry Freeman in the 277, who started 11th on the road and now is running stone dead last, I'm afraid. Could that be a little bit further up the field? Not quite. Just had Matic Obahidze go past. So Matic Obahidze has had a warning flag. So has the 2-3-38. I've got a feeling it's going to... Juice Mulder now down and out of the race, I'm afraid. The 274 from the Netherlands. Unless that cart is still running. That could... Well, no, that cart is still running. Harry Freeman is in the pit lane. So with 2 minutes and a half plus an additional lap still remaining on the timer, Kai Clark is leading by nearly half a second. So there is someone definitely running with an... I'm hearing it from time to time. Oh, sounds like possibly Rory Armstrong. Possibly. And Rory Armstrong is dropping. Yeah, I think that sounds like it. We've got yellows at Marshall post number 1 as someone has just spun it at turn 2. Yeah, so it sounds like, yeah, that car with that noisy exhaust, it's unfortunately coming from the direction, I think, of Rory Armstrong on the 268. So whether someone's mounted his rear bumper and taken the exhaust silencer off the top behind the driver. Meantime, Albert Friend and Noah Barham are battling away over third and fourth as the field makes its way through out of turn number 11. And Kai Clark has now pulled a gap of nearly 6.5 tenths of a second. And it is Rory Armstrong. Mechanical black flag has been shown to the 268 from Dan Holland Racing. That's a real shame for Rory Armstrong. Had a really, really good set of qualifying heats, but he's got to bounce back. Looks like, Juice Mulder has pulled off of the circuit and is currently situated by Marshall post number 2. But Noah Barham trying to move closer and closer to Albert Friend in the battle for P3. As our leaders have already crossed the line, it's going to be 2 more laps remaining. Next time around, once the timer has hit 0, we'll get the final lap board being shown. Albert Friend, difficult first day for the youngster from Strawberry Racing in the 229. But now having a better run this time. Ended up being in the slower group, if I remember correctly. He's doing a really good job fending off Noah Barham at the moment for that third place. Timer has hit 0. And as these two come through turn 9, the leaders are now making their way towards turn 11 as we speak. So Kai Clark continuing the run of form that he showed and parlayed yesterday. And this time we're going to get the last lap board out for the opening qualifying heat for juniors as Noah Barham sweeps to the outside of Albert Friend for the crisscross. And Albert Friend keeps it parked on the racing line. And Barham to the outside of the start-finish straight, slots in behind. Friend, this is going to allow the likes of Lieke van Berkel, who's done a sterling job. She's made up 10 places so far as the young lady with Dams Racing. Up from 15th, Kai Clark. 1 lap to go, sets the new fastest lap of the race. 56.436, the man from KR Sport. And already we have lost Rory Armstrong, Mohamed El Bouzaki, Juice Mulder and Harry Freeman from the race. 26 drivers set to complete 9 laps of racing as Kai Clark now heads down towards Cafe Corner for what is going to be the final time. Albert Friend holding on ahead of Noah Barham. Lieke van Berkel is closing in on them, but it might be a little bit too late. But Clark will come through out of the final corner. Kai Clark continues his winning ways here at Genk, taking the victory by 9 tenths of a second ahead of Max Swiderski. Who's going to get third? It's going to be Albie Friend by next to nothing. 9/100ths ahead of Noah Barham. Lieke van Berkel, Proficiat, 10 places gained to finish 5th. Ahead of Isaac Barker, Frederick Flood Engelbrechts, Harry Taylor, Boris Maximov started 27th, finishes P9. Alex Goodson rounds out the top 10 ahead of Georgia's Mate Kobahidze with AJ Bugraf, Bran van der Weken, Storm van Rossum, Mitan Shane, Ethan Griffiths, Louis Radcliffe, Vilmos Vilzitz. Then we got Luan Seidel and Korn Willems rounding out the top 20. Kazuki Kitanaka finishes 21st ahead of Samir Paul, Devon Mieta, Luca de Moitru. Justin Fonk being the last of the classified finishes. Looks like Kian Bernard has not crossed the line, finishes a lap down ahead of Rory Armstrong, Mohamed El Bouzaki, Juice Mulder and Harry Freeman, who did not make it to the end of the race. Next up, it's going to be Senior Rotax qualifying Heat 1, Groups B versus C.
Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
Okay, just to give you all a little bit of an update at the moment here at the Home of Champions. We do have some technical issues with regards to timekeeping at the moment. We will endeavour to have those rectified as soon as humanly possible, and we will be back underway in racing as soon as we can. So please, we'd like to say to everyone here at the circuit and everyone watching on the BNL Karting Series YouTube channel, a big thank you to you all for your patience and your understanding. We appreciate it.
this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
Hello everybody, I just really wanted to give you an update. I've just been informed that we have a further 30-minute delay to proceedings. There are some issues behind the scenes that need to be resolved from a technical perspective. So we are under a 30-minute delay at present, and we will hopefully get the racing back underway here at the Home of Champions. We do appreciate your understanding and your patience with these kind of things. It does happen, so we would rather keep you informed and rather than leaving you in the dark about this thing. So we currently are with a 30-minute delay. We'll keep you updated when we're going to be going back to racing very shortly. So we appreciate once again your patience and your understanding. We will get the racing for day 2 of round 3 of the 2025 BNL Karting Series underway very soon, and we'll let you know when we're going to be back trackside here at the Home of Champions. Thank you for your patience once again. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, thank you very much for your patience. New grids have been assigned for the respective B versus C heats, and we will be recommencing the racing at 12:15. I repeat, 12:15 local time, which is in just over 15 minutes. So we are now at 11:59, so in 16 minutes time we will start going again. There will be a revised timetable issued through Discord to all competitors very shortly. Thank you for your patience. So, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we have had some revisions made in the meantime, but we are just a couple of moments away from getting our first of 3 qualifying heats for the senior Rotax division underway before we head into the lunch break. The timetable has been amended accordingly, so there will be a shorter lunch break, but we should be on course to finish a little bit later than originally planned, based on the delay that we've had this morning. So temperature still quite hot here at the home of champions, Karting in Belgium, as we are part of the way through day 2 of round 3 of the 2025 season. So the green flag shown at the end of the dummy grid as the field makes its way onto the circuit. Here is your starting order for qualifying heat B versus C for senior Rotax. On the front row, it will be Macaulay Bishop on pole position. He'll be lining up alongside Matthias Jellerup from Denmark on the front row. Tom Lanois and Tino Sidler on row 2, with Nolan Emere and Lado Kuhanidze rounding out row 3. So Chiro Shioda and Cameron Nelson next up, followed by Christopher Holst and Armand Hamilton from Switzerland and Hungary respectively. France's Bastien Misnil will be joined by the USA Deans Pedersen next up, ahead of Anya Levar and Lizzie Mencia. Mehdi Lassoud and Sverre Ubben will be next up, ahead of Ryan Bourguignon and Omar Ganoum, with Ollie Yonkers, William Pemble. Rein van der Meer has not moved on to the main grid itself. We actually might have Rein van der Meer starting possibly from the repair area. Trofim Krotov, Titouan Hochel, Knud Nielsen, Sasha Aim, Enzo Zani. Then we've got Adish Mehta, Tino Potier, Laurie Legris, Jules Levin and Matti Sturlo due to start at the back end of the field. It will be 7 minutes plus an additional lap. But Macaulay Bishop yesterday winning both his respective heats, then went on to win the final yesterday afternoon. So he's closed the gap by a handful of points to Tom Lanois from France, who coming into this round was the championship leader. So the red lights will very shortly be ignited on the starting gantry. One driver has just pulled into pit lane. So it might mean that we will have another driver not contesting this race. With the field now having made its way through the second sector. The field starts to close up coming out of turn number 11 here at the circuit. So Bishop and Jellerup on the front row of the grid as we await for the red lights to go out here ahead of 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Each of the senior Rotax drivers will contest 2 qualifying heats before the final. As we go, revs up, lights on, and we are underway. Good start by Macaulay Bishop, leading the field into turn 1. Langlois trying to struggle his way past Yellerup, going through into turn 1. However, the Dane able to hold his line. 3 wide coming out of turn 2 for the briefest of moments. So a lot of activity heading down into the Europlan off of turn 6 and turn 7. Macaulay Bishop looking over his left shoulder. Matthias Yellerup looking over his right. So looks like Knud Nielsen was the driver that decided to pull into pit lane before the race even got underway. But Macaulay Bishop will lead proceedings after the opening lap. But the gap between him and Matthias Yellerup stems to the best part of nearly 0.6 of a second after the opening lap. Meantime, Yellerup has lost positions. Make that 3 on the bounce with Langlois, Lemeret and Sidler getting through. And coming through the opening sector this time around, up 5 places at the moment are the pair of Lizzie Mentier and Sverre Ubben, up from 14th and 16th respectively. And now, looks like Langlois is going to be the cork in the bottle, because Bishop has bolted and is away comfortably. I would say that's at least the best part of nearly a second and a half up the road. They come around the final couple of corners, and his lead nearly 1.6 seconds. Lemeret looking to get through on Langlois. Might possibly open the door if it does happen for the likes of Tino Sidler, Matthias Yellerup, Cam Nelson now up into P6 ahead of Lado Kouanidze. And another position gained by the pair of Mentier and Ubben as they now round out the top 9. Soichiro Shioda now down in 10th position is the Japanese driver running with Dams Racing. Christopher Holst has had a bit of a nightmare first heat of the day. The 311 from Switzerland has put in the fastest lap of the race. Anya Levar, she's just put in the fastest opening sector. Macaulay Bishop fastest in sector 2. His lead now is stemming quite high in the terms of he's made a big old gap, and that has gone from 1.6 to 1.9, now 2.1 seconds. As a little bit further back, Mentier being pressurised by Sverre Ubben going into T1. There's quite a few drivers with their elbows out. Bishop with the fastest lap of the race, 55.751. And more positions being lost as drivers use the added benefits of slipstream. I think there was Cam Nelson through and Matthias Yellerup. Tino Sidler, quickest overall in the opening sector in the race so far. Macaulay Bishop quickest overall in sector 2. His lead is slightly under 2.2 seconds at this moment as we're halfway through this opening qualifying heat for senior Rotax. And Jules Levar has got through on Sasha Aim and Adish Mehta. Omar Ghannoum has gone purple in sector 2, but Macaulay Bishop now keeps his lead at an equal 2.23 seconds. Tino Sidler in third place, about 0.3 of a second behind Tom Langlois. Has just put in the fastest lap of the race of 55.514. Nola Lemeret, Cam Nelson, Matthias Yellerup round out the top 6. Head of Lado Kouanidze. Sverre Ubben has got through on Lizzie Mentier. Armand Hamilton from Hungary, now in 10th, ahead of Soichiro Shioda. The Japanese driver's race has gone down, but only slightly. 4 positions gained, or 4 positions lost. We've lost Knud Nielsen, we've lost Bastian Misniel, we've also lost Dams Racing's Ollie Yonkers, who is out, I'm afraid. So that brings us down to 27 runners and riders as we complete lap number 5 Macaulay Bishop now has a 2.4 second lead. Now up into P2 goes Switzerland's Tino Sidler over Tom Langlois from France. And then Langlois has got countryman Nolan Lemeray not too far behind. Sverre Ubben not hanging about at the moment is the 3:46. Cam Nelson, new fastest lap. 3:04 puts in a 55.325. Sverre Ubben now closing in on the 3:85 of Georgia's Lado Kuanidze as we head into the final minute and 40, plus an additional lap. So we still have a few more races to go off this one, 4 to go before we hit the lunch break at 1:30 local time here in Belgium. But it is the fact that Macaulay Bishop is pretty much running away with this at the moment. 2.3 seconds. Cameron Nelson, another new fastest lap by the man from Wales. The 3:04 puts down a 55.265 on lap 6. And that is Lizzie Mentia ahead of Lado Kuhanidze. And Matis Turlos has been given a black and white warning flag by race control. So Mentia ahead of Kuhanidze now. So that puts Lizzie up from what would have been 15th, 14th at the start. Now puts her 8th. So again, another driver that's come in, fresh to this track, and has made some good work, made some good adaptations. Tino Sidler retakes the fastest lap of the race with a 55.069. And there is the gaggle battling away for what is 8th on the road between Mentia, Kuhanidze, Hamilton and Shioda. And those four crossed the line. They were covered by about the best part of 0.6 of a second. As here goes Armand Hamilton through on Lado Kuhanidze. That was through down the Europalan into turn 6 and 7. So a nice little bit of work there from the 3:84. Timer has hit 0. As our race leader Macaulay Bishop now will come through the final 2 corners to start the 9th and final lap of this race. Bishop's lead has been truncated sector by Tino Sidler. It's now down to 1.8 seconds. But with just over a kilometre to run, Macaulay Bishop pretty much has this one in the pocket. Down the Europalan goes the man from Hoddesdon for the final time through turn 6, 7 and now 8. Just a handful of corners remain. So once again, it has been a pretty good run from lights out to checkered flag. Macaulay Bishop out of the final corner will win this first qualifying heat for Senior Rotax, and does it quite convincingly. His lead gap at one point was 2.8 seconds. He got across the line 1.5 seconds ahead of Tino Sidler at the finish. Nolan Lemeray rounding out the top 3 ahead of Tom Langlois. Cam Nelson up to 5th, having started 8th. Sverre Ubben finished 6th, having started 16th on the starting grid ahead of Matthias Jaderup. Good showing again by Lizzie Mentia from the UK. She finished ahead of Armand Hamilton and Lado Kuhanidze, who complete the top 10. Soichiro Shioda and William Pemble next up, rounding out the top 12 ahead of Dean Pedersen from the USA. Mehdi Lassued and Anya Levar rounding out the top 15. Sasha Aim, Ryan Bourguignon, Julie Levar, Omar Ganoum, Mathis Turlot rounding out the top 20. With 26 drivers finishing the 9-lap race. Rounded out by Christophe Holst, Trofim Grotov, Titouan Rocher, Tino Potier, Enzo Zani and Francis Laurie Legris. Unfortunately, we lost Adish Mehta, Ollie Yonkers, Bastien Mesnil, Knud Nielsen with Rein van der Meer, a non-starter. So next up we head to our sole qualifying heat for Mini-Max and Mini-Max Rookie. 33 drivers set to take to the start ahead of 7 minutes plus an additional lap of racing. What a comeback driver from the driver that starts once again on pole position. Riley Morrow yesterday started 29th and made up 28 places to take the victory after what was an interesting and dynamic 12-minute plus an additional lap final yesterday early evening, let's say, because it's been a very, very long day. Some of the members of the teams getting here for about 7:15 this morning. There's a recovery operation underway at the moment as things stand, and that is for the 336. That's Ollie Yonker's cart, I believe. So, track has been declared clear. So, the green light and the green flag sends the signal to our Mini and Mini Rookie drivers ahead of their qualifying heat. So, here is the starting order. On pole position, it's going to be Riley Morrow in the 122 from Sam Pollitt Racing, leading the way ahead of Lucian Smith, with the top 2 rows locked out by the United Kingdom. Tom Reed and Oliver Spencer will round out row number 2. Then it's Denmark's Finn Albert Jorgensen. He'll be joined by the 121 of Austin Amman on the next row, row 3. Row 4, Harry Radcliffe and Conrad Doyle, with the top 10 completed by Germany's Gillian Dummer and the UK's Logan Rolfe. Ari Kallenberg and Mick Klinkers round out the next row, ahead of Atika Asifmir and Leo Livings. Leon Herbos and Ian Habits are next up, ahead of Mini Rookie Kian Hay in the number 68, who'll be joined by the Netherlands' Tren van Melk, Mikkel Gottschalk and Arhan Qureshi. Now round out the next row, followed by Malte Holm, Ryan Rampadath, Felix Chang from Chinese Taipei and the island of Taiwan, Noah Stayhouder, Augusta Hanik, Minute de Karsmaker, Arlo Gamble, Leonard Kuster, Sebastian de Moisac, Sasha Al-Jabrail, Tayon Vazneva, Paul Dussart and Andreas Jellerup rounding out the grid as they head on to their official formation lap. Hello, Mark Baines, popping up in the YouTube chat. Let's go, Tom Reed. So, if you are watching along, thank you very much for your company over the course of the action so far this weekend. Please give us an indication if you are not here at the circuit, let us know who you are supporting in the respective categories we've got here this weekend. So, the field making its way through into turn number 11. As the drivers will now go past the red line of no return. So 7 minutes plus an additional lap for their qualifying heat, which will then set the grid for the pre-final, which will be after the lunch break at around about 2:10 this afternoon, local time here in East Belgium. So, revs up, lights on, lights are out. We're underway. Good start by our pole sitter as Riley Morrow is ahead, and that is going to be Oliver Spencer going through as little bit of argy-bargy, a little bit of at the back end of the field. 106, Milo de Karlsmaker, and I think that might have been Arlo Gamble that might have had a little bit of a contact situation. And there is Austin Amman, who's just got through on Lucian Smith. And now, Oliver Spencer a little bit wide going through into turn 6. Now that has opened up the floodgates, so to speak. Oh, clash of wheels. That was between Tom Reed and I think maybe Lucian Smith going through into turn number 9. They go through Cafe Corner. But at the moment it is going to be the case of how big is Riley Morrow's lead going to be. As up the inside of Lucian Smith goes Tom Reed through the final couple of corners and makes it up to 4th place. Morrow leads by a second after the opening lap. Lucian Smith dives up the inside of Tom Reed. And there is also Logan Rolfe looking to pick up the pieces. He's got through. No, he hasn't. Tom Reed back up the inside of him through at 3. And then you've also got a few other drivers as Reed goes through. Lucian Smith trying to get the crisscross through down the Europolani side by side with the Strawberry Racing driver. And Logan Rolfe takes full advantage of it. Tom Reed through into turn 6. Loses 2 positions at the drop of a hat. So the field coming through turn 9 now. But Austin Amman keeping a very, very comfortable 1 second advantage at the moment. But that will depend on whether SPR teammate Austin Amman is able to keep pace with him. As Tom Reed goes back through on Logan Rolfe again. That's another change for 5th position. Oh, bit of a squeeze from Tom Reed. Oh no, that was nearly sideways for Tom Reed. He was trying to squeeze Logan Rolfe down the start-finish straight to the right-hand side of the grass. And it was so nearly a possible spin for Tom Reed, but he did hang on. There's also the 105 Mick Clinkers, who is through on the 115, 113 of Harry Radcliffe. Finn Albert Jorgensen is not too far behind either. As they come through turn number 8. Leaders now already making their way through 9 and then heading down towards Cafe Corner. We're on lap 3 at the minute and the elbows are out, well and truly sharpened. Field makes its way through to complete lap number 3 and Riley Morrow continues his tight grip on the race lead at the moment, but the gap has come down to just under 9/10 of a second, and as Austin Amman pumps in the fastest lap of the race, a 60.121. Oliver Spencer, Lucian Smith, Tom Reed, Logan Rolfe round out the top 6, all British drivers. Austin Amman, new fastest lap, 60.121. Mick Clinkers is the next nationality, and that will be the Finn Albert Jorgensen, however, in the meantime has managed to get through and make up a position in his own right. So the youngster from Denmark, this year's Danish champion, who's already booked his place to Bahrain on Team Denmark this year, he's having a bit more fun. I was speaking to his dad Bo the other day, and he said, "Yeah, Finn's just wanting to learn and have a bit more fun." Diving to the inside of the 105 of Mick Clinkers, Harry Radcliffe gets through at turn number 10 and stays ahead at 11. Finn Albert Jorgensen looking to try and see if he can put the slipstream manoeuvre on the Dutch driver in front. Julian Dimmer not too far behind either, so the youngster from Germany definitely showing good account of himself against a very, very highly talented mini rookie field. And there goes Finn Albert Jorgensen up the inside. And that is 7th place for the Danish youngster. Logan Rolfe waiting in the wings to pick up the pieces if anything happens in front. And then looks like Leo Livings, I think, might have just gotten past Julian Dimmer in the meantime. And has managed to get back into the top 10, having started 14th on the grid. But with 2 minutes to go, plus an additional lap, Austin Amman is closing that gap to Riley Morrow. Tom Reed trying to chase down Lucian Smith for 4th. Harry Radcliffe 6th. Finn Albert Jorgensen, Mick Clinkers, Logan Rolfe and Leo Livings now round out your top 10. So it looks like Jazz Hands Leo is on the move. Austin Amman, new fastest lap of the race once again for the 121 from Sam Pollitt Racing, 59.496. And you can see a little bit of indentation and also some scuff some sidewall scuff marks on the left side pod of Tom Reed's OTK. Those two still battling it out as they come out of turn 9. And then it's down in towards Cafe Corner. But with a minute to go, well, it's literally just on the bubble. So another new fastest lap. Austin Oman has got that gap down to less than 4.5 tenths. 59.196 for Oman. Morrow a 59.389. So you've got to also bear this in mind that Riley Morrow is punching a hole in the dirty air. And it has got no slipstream assistance. So leaders have already made their way through the chicane at the European, whereas the entirety of the remaining drivers in the, well, the remaining drivers in on the grid and on the circuit at the moment are still running. So 33 drivers started this race. It looks like 33 are more than likely going to finish it, touch wood. But Riley Morrow, this is going to be on the bubble. So last lap underway. And Austin Amano's got to within a kart length of Morrow. The race is now on for the victory here in the qualifying heat for today. Lucian Smith, new fastest lap of the race, 59.187 for the 141. But the leaders making their way through into turn 8. What will be the final time here in this qualifying heat? We'll have their pre-final at 10 past 2 this afternoon. Omana's trying to close that gap. He's got close enough, but it may not be enough as the checkered flag will wave. And out of the final corner, disaster in the qualifying heat yesterday, but here is a little bit of redemption. Riley Morrow takes the win by 0.2 of a second after 8 laps of racing. Oliver Spencer for SP Motorsport rounds out your top 3 as there's more battles. Literally photo finishes across the line here at the Home of Champions. But Riley Morrow picks up the win after 8 laps of racing here in the mini rookie qualifying heat ahead of Austin Aman, meaning it's a Sam Pollock Racing 1-2. So well done to the 2 drivers there. Kept their noses very, very clean within the just under 10.9 kilometres of racing. Oliver Spencer, Lucian Smith and Tom Reed round out your top 5 ahead of Mick Clinkers. Harry Radcliffe, Leo Libbings, Logan Rolfe, Gillian Dummer, Dean Habits, Leon Herbols, Conrad Doyle, Finn Albert Jorgensen and Ali Kadenberg from the UAE rounding out the top 15. Kian Hay makes it to 16th and wins in mini rookie ahead of Malte Holm, Arhan Qureshi, Andreas Jederup, Atika Asifmir rounding out the top 20, followed by Lennart Costa, Mikkel Gottschalk, Twen van Melek, Paul Dussard, Ryan Rampadarath, Augustin Hanik, Felix Chang, Sebastian de Mozac, Sasha Algebrail, Mila de Gosmaker, Arlo Gamble, Tian Vesneer and Noah Stayhouder rounding out the field. Next up, we'll be heading into gearbox action with DD2 and DD2 Masters for their qualifying heat coming up next. So let's take you through the starting grid for the qualifying heat for DD2 and DD2 Masters. After qualifying this morning, Sam Knopfler has put it on pole position, but by literally thousandths of a second. 8 thousandths to be precise. He'll be joined by Nicolas Guillaume, long-time rival, on the front row. Manuel Tenchert, the fastest lap merchant yesterday from Austria, will start on the inside of row number 2. He'll be joined by Laurens Herboz. Antoine Barberoux and Len Noyes will complete row 3. Ahead of the all-Danish row number 4, William Christensen and William Norbeek. With an all-Dutch row 5 completing the top 10. Wout Kerstens and Axel Hoos, both from Combi Kart Racing Team. Bendit Sabo will be joined on the next row by Latvia's Gustavs Usakovs, with Christoph Kapitan once again starting from DD2 Masters pole position. He'll be joined by young Danish hotshot for SP Motorsport Frederik Zebis in the 433. Follow that up with Marco Dredenpreis and Moritz Knopfler's Michael Becker coming to a halt in qualifying, stunted his progress in the session. He'll be joined by Matus Amkans with Dimitri Ostrovsky, Jeremy Brasler and Kian de Brandt, who did not take part in qualifying, starts from the back end of the field. So the red lights are on the gantry ahead of 7 minutes plus an additional lap for this sole DD2 and DD2 Masters qualifying heat. At the moment, Sam Knopfler has a perfect score of 275 points. Can he continue his winning streak? Let's find out here in the qualifying heat as we're under green flag conditions. We're underway. Knopfler straight away covers off Guillaume, as Laurens Herboz is trying to go around the outside. Early doors of Manuel Tenchert, but the Austrian holds his nerve and holds his racing line. Stays in P3, not too far behind the Belgian. As it looks like Len Noyes has made up a position or two. He's got through on Antoine Barberoux for RM Concept, who's just behind him. There's Axel Hoos. There's Manuel Tenchert. Oh, and Nicolas Guillaume. Oh, they came to clashing sidewalls, did the pair, and Tenchert had 2 wheels on the grass. That's now going to possibly open the door for Laurens Herboz, but Manuel Tenchert is a man that knows his stuff when it comes to DD2 racing. He's raced it as a master, he's raced as a DD2. So he holds on to third. Len Noyes now up into P4 and is challenging the Austrian heading into turn number 12. As they come out of the 13th and final corner, it is Knopfler's leading. Guillaume second, Tenchert third, Noyes fourth. Then it will be Barberoux that will be next up in fifth as the field makes its way. Down onto the Europlan once again. As Len Noyes, late dive up the inside through at turn number 6 and gets through on Manuel Tenchert, who again is having to fight tooth and nail. Laurens Herboz being mustered out a little bit here. Firstly by Antoine Barberoux, bit of contact between Herboz and William Norbeek heading into turn 10. And still, well, Axel Hoos has got through on the Dane. Then there's Bendit Sabo not too far behind either, so well, keep your eye. Well, William Christensen, actually, I might add. Bendit Sabo all the way down into 21st position behind Michael Becker. So just under 5 minutes to go, and the daggers are out. They're on the elbows, they're sharpened and ready to play ball. As the 405 of William Norbeek trying to go toe-to-toe with Axel Hoos. And then there is Hunter Motorsports Gustav Susakovs. Despite a iffy shoulder, he managed to get through into qualifying, and he said, well, I'll see how I feel. And at this point now, well, he's definitely done a good job. He took the opening. Oh, Frederik Zebis, that was a good late lunge up the inside of the youngster from Latvia. Gustav Susakovs has taken the opening win in Šiauliai in Lithuania for the Rotax Max Nordic Challenge this year. As up the inside of Antoine Barberou tries to dive Laurence Herboz, the RM concept driver from France, with his keeping himself very much there, ahead of the driver from Bouvin Power. So we are half-time through this race at the moment, and Sam Knopfius has a lead of just over a second from, will make that nearly 1.2 seconds from Nicolas Guillaume. We are about to complete lap 4 very, very shortly. So Knopfius leads after 4 laps by just under 1.2 seconds. Nicolas Guillaume has got Len Nyes up the inside and past. That's second for the man from Shapers Racing BV. Through on the driver who used to be a part of that team, funnily enough, before he changed to SP Motorsport. As there goes Manuel Tenschert. Just goes to show age is nothing but a number, especially if you are from Austria and you are the 484 known as Manuel Tenschert. He got through and also has taken another fastest lap of the race. 54.860 by the 484 on the Birolart chassis. Barberou is also closing in. Herboz not too far behind. Neither is Axel Hoos. And then William Norbeck a further second and a bit away from the likes of Barberou, the likes of Herboz. So they are squabbling over real estate here at the home of champions. On to lap 6 we go. Sam Knopfius' lead over Len Nyes expands to 1.4 seconds. Plus change. As through on Nicolas Guillaume goes Antoine Barberou as they cross the line to break the timing beam for sector 2. Oh, Barberou and Guillaume definitely are not done with their quarrel at the moment. Makes it sound like two old knights dueling on horseback. But Barberou got through on Guillaume, who returned the favour through at turn 6 and sent it like he did yesterday on a couple of other drivers in the field. But Knopfius' lead is going to be a little bit further now. 1.5 seconds. Manuel Tenschert looking for P2. Dives to the inside at turn 1, and the Austrian is through on Belgium's Len Nyes. Great work there by the 484. And another fastest lap of the race, 54.520 for the Austrian. Meantime, this means that the lead for Sen Knopfius has gone to the best part of just under 1 3/4 seconds. So whilst Tenschert and Nyes were battling, it allowed them to allowed Knopfius to pull away. Barberou threw back on Guillaume. They're playing musical chairs over P4. Laurence Herboz is also in the mix, along with Axel Hoos. William Christensen now up into 8th. Ahead of William Norbeek. With Wout Kirstens, Marco Druttenpreis, Frederick Zebis, Christophe Capitan leading the DD2 Masters classification in 13 ahead of Gustav Usakovs. Then we got Kian de Brandt, who started from the back end of the field, now runs 15th. Ahead of Jeremy Brasler, who is the nearest competitor to Christophe Capitan. We've had 2 DNFs, one from Michael Becker and one from Bendit Sabo. So we are down to 19 runners as the timer strikes 0. So after this, just one more lap to go. Then it will be job done for Zem Knopfius. So final lap now underway for the 420 from the Netherlands. His dad running still under his Emirati licence, I believe. So hence why Moritz is running under the UAE flag and Sem using his Dutch nationality. Obviously, as I said yesterday, a very, very late starter, but a quick learner. Manuel Tenschert, 54.382. And he's got that gap down to about 1.4 seconds. It's not going to be enough for the Austrian to catch the Dutchman up front. but he'll give it a good go, will Tenchert. So our leader makes his way through in towards the final 2 corners of this 1.36 kilometre circuit. Sen Knopfjes picks up the win in the qualifying heat ahead of a steely determined Mr. Manuel Tenchert, who takes P2 and with it the fastest lap of the race ahead of Len Nyes, Antoine Babarou and Nicolas Guillaume round out your top 5. Lawrence Herbeau 6th ahead of Axel Hoos. William Christensen and William Norbeek and Wout Kirstens round out the top 10 ahead of Marco Treppenpreis. Frederick Zebis. Christophe Capitan takes another victory in Masters ahead of Gustav Zulsikovs, with Kian de Brandt finishing 15th. Jeremy Brasler second in Masters ahead of Moritz Knopfjes. Dimitri Ostrovsky finishing 18th ahead of Matthias Arkans from Norway in the number 421, and unfortunately with a few laps to go we lost early in the race Germany's Michael Becker and Hungary's Bendit Sabo. Next up, it's the penultimate qualifying heat for Junior Rotax. So we now go on to our penultimate qualifying heat, which is qualifying heat 2 for Junior Rotax, qualifying heat A versus C. Here is your starting grid. Ryan Gander will line up on pole position. Mate Korbehidze will be alongside on the front row. Vince van der Holle and Isaac Barker will be on row number 2, followed by Lars Lambers and Kai Clark. Antoine Silva Venant and Harry Taylor round out the next row, followed by Archie Lovett and Mitanj Jain, who complete the top 10. Sebastian Lersch and Alex Goodson next up, ahead of Shun Sekaguchi and Luan Seidel. Jackson Gibson will be joined by Juice Mulder on the next row, ahead of Christian Sayerson and Samir Paul. Olivier Schaas and Justin Fonk next up, ahead of Ludwig Hansson, Kern Willems, Pauline Van Preet, Ethan Griffiths, Jenthe Moonen, Mohamed El Bouzaki, Lionel Munguia, Vilmos Wilsitz, Will Archer, Kian Bernard and Cole Denham. That is your 31 strong grid, due to go into battle over 7 minutes plus an additional lap. So the red lights are on the gantry ahead of 7 minutes plus an additional lap of racing. It's, well, Antoine Sylvain-Venant will not be starting from the traditional starting position on the grid as the revs go up. The lights are on, lights are out, we're underway. As Ryan Gandor leads the field into turn 1, it is going to be a scramble and a half going through into the opening couple of corners. A couple of drivers having to use the runoff area. Everyone safely through so far, heading in towards turn 5 off of the Europalan. And there is the 228 of Vince van der Holle closing in on Mate Kobahidze. There is also Isaac Barker and Kai Clark at the sharp end of the field as some of the drivers going too wide into turn 6. And here might be the opportunity. Van der Holle gets through on Kobahidze, through at turn number 8. That's second for the Belgian. And now he can go after the very quick Canadian at the front end of the field. But Kobahidze back up the inside, retakes the position from the Belgian. And now that's going to give Isaac Barker a window of opportunity to close on in. Into the final couple of corners they go. It's line astern between second, third and fourth as Gandor leads by 0.6 of a second after the opening lap. Van der Holle trying to get through, and here goes Isaac Barker. Mate Kobahidze tries to retaliate, gets back through on his DHR teammate to retake third position, going through turn 3. So Mithaj Jain now just ahead of the likes of Lars Lambers, Kai Clark, Archie Lovett, Harry Taylor, and Alex Goodson, who's now up into 10th position. He's being chased down by the youngster from the Netherlands, Joost Mulder. Lewin Seidel up ahead of Sebastian Lersch, Jackson Gibson. Kian Bernard has started 30th and is up the road halfway through the field in 15th and is ahead of Japan's Shun Sekaguchi. So 5 minutes to go, plus an additional lap, as, Lewin Seidel's had a big drop down the order. Has ended up going down to 24th position. Samir Paul, who qualified fairly decently, ran about mid-pack. 18th he started, now running in 30th position at the moment. But fastest sectors are being traded. Meantime, Archie Lovett gets through. I think so did Lars Lambers on Kai Clark. Jackson Gibson, first time here at Karting Gang, the driver from Oregon in the United States. Had a great, nice little catch up with him and his dad last night before they left the circuit. Jackson's dad. I have to give a shout out to my good friend Xander Clements from Kart Chaser. He was wearing a KC t-shirt, was Jackson's dad, so should have taken a picture next time. However, Mate Kobahidze gets back through on Isaac Barker. There goes Kai Clark. Oh, and there's the 2:15 of Archie Lovett. Trying to get through as well. He's got Lars Lambers from Bouvan Power in the 2:42, not too far behind either. Cole Denham, the closer, now has moved his way up to 15th position, up 16 spots from the back end of the field. Antoine Sylvain-Venant has not taken part in this race as we hit half-time. So it seems like Gandor and Van der Holle have scarpered away into the distance. Gandor making amends for what happened yesterday. He's got to keep a clean nose, has the youngster from Canada. As up the inside on Mate Kobahidze goes Kai Clark, and now the floodgates have opened. Oh, Kobahidze is getting swamped a little bit here because he's had Archie Lovett, Lars Lambers trying to get through. There's the 2:53. Isaac Barker has now dropped back behind his teammates. There's Joost Mulder in the middle of all of that. Jackson Gibson, fastest lap of the race, the man from Oregon. 56.646. For the 206, who's made up 3 spots. Kian Bernard and Cole Denham are tag teaming the field. If anyone might remember the film Driven, with the 2 characters Jimmy Bly and Joe Tanto, they double teamed the field in the last race of the season. One of the characters was played by none other than Sylvester Stallone. So Kian Bernard and Cole Denham doing a really, really good job there. Now just out a hair's breadth outside of the top 10 as we head into the final 2 minutes. And as I say that, Cian Bernard and Cole Denham, they're both past Jackson Gibson, who's 13th. Mitansh Jain and Sebastian Loesch round out the top 15. Shun Sekaguchi, the Japanese driver, the son of Yuhi Sekaguchi, Team SAR GT500 Super GT racer, alongside Argentina's Sasha Fenestraz this season, who, I think between the pair of them, they picked up 3rd place at Okayama in the season opener this year. So a lot of pedigree. As I said yesterday with regards to the Sekaguchi family, it kind of resembles Andy and Seb Brio. Andy being a 3-time World Touring Car champion. But it is getting a lot closer at the front end of the field. Vince van der Hollen now closing in on Ryan Gandor. So we're probably going to have another 3 laps of racing left. We're on to lap 7 out of 9. And Gandor has found that his lead has been truncated sector by sector, lap by lap, corner by corner by the man behind him, Vince van der Holle from Belgium. Fastest lap of the race at the moment belongs to Harry Taylor. 56.190 for the Brit, who is currently in 8th position, just ahead of the 2.74 of Juice Mulder. Alex Goodson rounds out the top 10. Cole Denham has closed in on more positions than anybody else in this race. 31st, now 11th, and is about 1.4 seconds away from Goodson. But the time is fast running out as for the lead. For the lead goes Van der Hollen, but Gandor with the crisscross, with the switchback, retakes the position going into turn number 13. And with 2 laps to go, the Canadian for KR Sport holds on and stays on the racing line, meaning that Van der Holle is going to have to work for this victory. The 228 from Belgium switches to the outside at turn 5. Gandor says, no, you don't. Now looks over his right shoulder as into where to place his cart to keep Van der Holle at bay. Timer has hit 0. So next time around, we will be on the 9th and final lap of this race. And Gandor still defensive. He's got to try and see if he can keep Van der Holle at bay. Van der Holle has already made a move on the Canadian once. Now through into turn 12 once again. This time, last lap board is out. Gandor and Van der Holle going at it, hammer and tongs in the final lap of this race. But this is allowing Kai Clark to close on in. Clark was only 9 tenths behind Van der Holle when they started battling away at the front end of the field. And now they're going to break the timing beam for Sector 2 very shortly. 22.488. Fastest overall first sector by the man in 3rd position. And now he's going to be with them through turn 8. Now into 9 for the final time. Can Kai Clark make a massive impression here on the 2 in front? Well, Van der Hollen's looking over his shoulder left and right. Through into turn 10. Clark's got a real good lick of speed. But it's going to be through into the final couple of corners. What does Clark have in the offing? Will Gandor hold on? Let's find out. Gandor wins. Gandor wins. Qualifying heat number 2, A versus C, by just over 4 tenths of a second ahead of Vince van der Holle, with Kai Clark just 6/100ths behind in P3. Good solid result for Mate Gobahidze from Georgia in 4th, ahead of Archie Lovett, Lars Lambers, Harry Taylor, Isaac Parker, Alex Goodson and Juice Mulder rounding out your top 10. The closer, Cole Denham, made up 20 positions in that race to finish 11th, ahead of the USA's Oregon's very own Jackson Gibson. Cian Bernard, 17 places gained, started 30th, finished 13th. Sebastian Loesch, Christian Sejersen ran out your top 15 ahead of Japan's Shun Sekaguchi, the UAE's Mitansh Jain, the UK's Will Archer, Belgium's Jente Moonen, and looks to be Hungary's Vilmos Willisits that rounds out your top 20. Mohamed El Bouzaki, Ludwig Hansson, Lionel Muguia, Olivier Chasse and Justin Fonck round out the top 25. with Samir Paul, Ethan Griffiths and Pauline Van Preek making it to the finish. Unfortunately, 3 retirees in that race. Luan Seidel, Koen Willems and Antoine Sylvain Venant, a non-starter. So one more race until we go to the official lunch break here at the Home of Champions for Day 2, Round 3, BNL Karting Series 2025. It's time for qualifying Heat 2, A versus C, Senior Max. Here is your starting grid. Pole position, it will be for the Netherlands, for Thijs van Wijk, the fastest driver in overall combined qualifying earlier on this morning. Matthias Jellerup will be alongside in the front row. Row 2, Mateo Denkovic and Tino Sidler. Attila Kalapax and Lado Kohanidze will be on row 3. Birthday boy today, Sebastian Koch, will be joined by Wales's Cameron Nelson on the next row. Ryan Qureshi and Armin Hamilton next up. They complete the top 10 with Jort van Wijk, Dean Pedersen next up. Lewis Goff will be joined by Lizzie Mentia on the next row. Charlie Smith and Sverre Ubben next up ahead of Theo Lemoine, Omar Ganoum, Tito van Liskeli, William Pemble, Dante Sima, Trofim Krotov, Ollie Wise, Knud Nielsen, Lloyd Hare, Enzo Zani not on the starting grid but might be starting from the repair area possibly. Andrea Remy, Tino Potier, Ryan Kairos, Jure Levar and Lola Javet rounds out your full full complement of senior Rotax drivers ahead of 7 minutes plus an additional lap of racing. There will still be one more qualifying heat to go in both junior and senior Rotax after the lunch break, but we will also have the pre-finals for DD2, DD2 Masters, Mini and Mini Rookie before we head into the finals later on at an adjusted 3:50 p.m. this afternoon local time here at the Home of Champions in the Limburg region of Eastern Belgium. So the drivers now getting into formation ahead of racing. As the drivers will come through the final couple of corners, the red lights are on, the revs are up. We are racing. But no, it looks like we've been given a full start. So the amber warning light has flashed for the first time today. So it is going to look like it's going to be another tour of, full course yellow flags around every single one of the marshal posts, all 7 of them here at Karting Gang. So we are back under starters' orders, I'm afraid. So once again, it is now the second time of asking ahead of this penultimate qualifying heat. Qualifying heat 2, A versus C, Senior Rotax, because we are revs up. Lights are on. This time we're green. We're good to go. As the field makes its way into turn 1. Jellerup trying to go around the outside early doors, but that is not going to allow the Dane to get through on the Dutchman, who leads the field. And a big incident. One car on 2 wheels. That was Jort van Wijk, who got a big old scare. Didn't see the other car underneath, but Jort van Wijk went skywards. 2 wheels, landed on the right-hand side. He caught the cart and held it. But one cart will not be making it any further forward. That's Dean Pedersen, I'm afraid. The American on the Kart Republic chassis. His race has come to an abrupt end. Whether Jort van Wijk, well, Van Wijk is now, I think, just making his way through in towards turn 9. Thijs van Wijk leads from Mateo Dankovic. Matthias Jellerup rounds out the top 3. Yep, so it is Dean Pedersen that is not going to take any further part in the race. I think might have been clutching his left shoulder ever so slightly. So 30 of the 32 starters still running. Jort van Wijk is, I think, very shortly going to be crossing the start-finish line, or has he pulled? He might have pulled that kart into the pits. It was a very, very hard landing on the left-hand side of the kart. That just goes to show how quickly things can change in a split second. Field makes its way through turn number 9. As Tino Sidler has made his way through on Matthias Jellerup, Lado Kuhanidze has an opportunity to get into the top 4. Attila Kalapax from Hungary in the 386 has got Cameron Nelson not too far behind, with birthday boy Sebastian Koch trying to also make some inroads as Jellerup makes the move through to retake 3rd position back again, but Tino Sidler is not done yet. Lado Kuhanidze also gets through. Ryan Qureshi has also dropped the Emirati base driver down to 30th position. So another couple of casualties fall by the wayside, it looks like. So Ryan Qureshi looks to be out, possibly out of the race. Dean Pedersen unfortunately out on lap 1. Same with Jort van Wijk, as the squabbles from 3rd backwards intensify quite significantly. So the field makes its way through towards the final couple of corners. Thijs van Wijk holding a comfortable grasp over the race lead at the moment. But there is a fast charging Belgian behind him. Mateo Radenkovic has now got that gap down to half a second. Sidler still 3rd. Kuhanidze, Jellerup rounding out the top 5. Andrea Remy from Switzerland has been scything his way through the field. Up now from 27th to 13th, and has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 56.027. Charlie Smith from the USA up from 15th, now running P10 ahead of Lewis Goff and Lizzie Mentia. So both Brits trying to move forward as well. They've made up a couple of places respectively against a high caliber field. We're past the halfway point, and still Thijs van Wijk is leading. Here goes Matthias Jellerup up the inside of Lado Kuhanidze, with Kalapax not too far behind either. Might have the chance to get through. Behind them, Cam Nelson defending against Sebastian Koch, and the Welshman does not hold back on his defensive strategy. Mateo Radenkovic now steals the fastest lap time of the race, 55.940. So 30 out of 32 drivers still circulating. Tino Poutier has dropped down to 30th position. Meantime, Charlie Smith has gotten up to 9th past Hungary's Armand Hamilton, so the American on the move. So after what is now 5 laps, Thijs van Wijk has a 3.5 of a second advantage over Mateo Radenkovic. Tino Sidler, Matthias Jellerup, Lado Kuhanidze, Attila Kalapax, Cameron Nelson, Sebastian Koch, Charlie Smith and Armand Hamilton round out your top 10. So we still have about 1 minute and 40 seconds to go, plus an additional lap of this race. Now it's a case of what's going to happen up front. Well, it's not a case of if, but it won't be a case of when does Mateo Radenkovic send it up the inside of Thijs van Wijk. Radenkovic, another new fastest lap of the race, 55.472 for the man from Belgium in the 3.99 from Dams Racing. As old drama has hit, trouble has struck Lizzie Mentier, the 3.24 from the United Kingdom. She's unfortunately out of the race. Ollie Wise has made some moves up the order as well. He's 3 places off of the top 10. Andrea Remy now up to 15th place as Ryan Qureshi from the UAE puts in the new fastest lap of the race. 54.455 from the 3.19. So 2 laps to go after this one. And at the minute, well, Van Wyk has held on so far. Sebastian Koch gets a black and white warning flag from race control, and there it is. Radenkovic through as the timer hits 16 on the clock. 16 seconds, that is. He finally got through on Thijs Van Wyk, and at this point, sometimes it's better off to wait and hold all your reserves until you get to the final, but some drivers might decide otherwise. But you want to make sure that your nose is as clean as possible. So Knud Nielsen we've also lost, along with Lizzie Mentier, Jort Van Wyk and Dean Pedersen, as now again Thijs Van Wyk going into battle through turn 10 with Mateo Radenkovic. There's Tino Sidler. We're going to go on to the last lap of the morning's action before we head into the lunch break, and it could be a cliffhanger. Through into turn 1 for the final time. Radenkovic holds on ahead of Thijs Van Wyk. Tino Sidler is there and with them. It's a 3-horse race for the victory here in the final lap of this second and penultimate qualifying heat in senior Rotax, and the crisscross has worked. Tino Sidler has pulled alongside and past Thijs Van Wyk. Now he might have only one more opportunity to see if he can get through on Mateo Radenkovic. Whether the gap is a bit too big for the 3.14 from Switzerland? No, not quite. Gathered a lot of pace and was a little bit later on the brakes going through into turn 9. Through turn 10 for the final time. Van Wyk dives up the inside of the Swiss driver. And that has compromised them both. Sidler back up the inside through turn 12. But it's going to be the run out of the final corner. Mateo Radenkovic wins. Second, it's going to be Thijs Van Wyk. Third, Tino Sidler. By next to nothing. 52 thousandths of a second. Matthias Jellerup, Lado Kohanidze, Sebastian Koch, Charlie Smith round out your top 7. Well done to the American in the 3.12 for Strawberry Racing. Great progress there from Charlie Smith, mentored and coached by Callum Bradshaw. Cameron Nelson, Armin Hamilton, and well done to Lewis Goff. Did see Alchemy Car Care in the chat as well, whilst flicking between live timing and YouTube. Rounding out the top 10, Attila Kalapak, Sverre Ubben, Ollie Wise, Andrea Remy, Dante Sima, William Pemble, Trovim Krotov, Thea Lemoigne, Lloyd Hare and Omar Ganoum round out your top 20 finishers. Jules Liver, Titouan Lescali with the fastest lap of the race finishes in 22nd, ahead of Lola Javet, Tino Potier, Enzo Zani and Ryan Kairouz, with Ryan Qureshi. Looks to have finished 1 lap down. Unfortunately, in the race, we lost Knud Nielsen, Lizzie Mentier, Jort Van Wyk, and Dean Pedersen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience over the course of this morning's action for race day number 2 of round 3 of BNL Karting Series 2025. That's it for now. We will be back just before 10 past 2 this afternoon as we'll kickstart the pre-finals, the final set of qualifying heats for junior and senior Rotax, and then, of course, the point-scoring opportunities for the finals. This has been a WFR Live TV production. We'll see you after the lunch break. Goodbye for now.